Cheers. Here's to a great first celebrity magazine TV show. Mallorca Distillery Parma Gin is proud to have sponsored the first ever show and is proud to be advertising in the magazine.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Celebrity Magazine Show. I'm your host Diablo V, and what a show we've got lined up for you. We've got the man behind the, do we say notorious, infamous? I'll let you decide. The book, Son of Escobar. The man behind the book will be joining us live here. Also internationally renowned superstar DJ Judge Jules. And not just talking DJing, we're going to be talking law and COVID changes as well. That and the beautiful sound of Mr. Larrick Ebanks. It's a great show. Before we go any further, don't forget, check out the link below, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get all the updates. Every time that an episode is posted, you'll be the first to know. Without further ado, we're going to get on. My first guest, well, I'll let you see. Hi, good afternoon. I'm with Philip Whitcomb, the man behind the Son of Escobar book. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
There we go. Now, I've got an array of questions to ask you.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to it. The most interesting one is obviously your dad.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the MI6
okay, so
dad.
I had two fathers.
Yes, yeah. So the MI6 dad. So a lot of people are going to be wondering, what was it like to grow up as the son of an MI6? Can I say spy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
what was it like to grow up?
well,
I mean, was it
it's a
all?
great question,
Was it all like Aston Martin DB9s?
No. So we're all talking about this in hindsight, which is obviously a great thing.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're just a kid.
Yeah.
Right? You're just trying to picture yourself in this world where there's this little kid, right? I look at this kid and think it's somebody else sometimes, but it's me. But this kid's growing up in this world where he's got armored cars, bodyguards, and Dad thinks it's safe. I call my adopted father Dad, and he thinks it's safer to have me with him. So we're on the helicopters, we're going to the fincas where the drugs are, we're doing all this stuff together, and I'm just like having a great time. I don't know this guy.
Okay.
He is an MI6 agent, but he's just doing all these amazing things. So when you're a kid, it's just Disneyland, it's normal. You don't know
but
this is different.
Was that the normal in Colombia? Because obviously I know about because obviously there's a lot of kidnapping in Colombia.
I had friends who, some Colombian schoolmates who just thought it was amazing that I had a guy in a car who would take me around and had a gun.
So did you pick up then that you were different to the other children?
Yeah, I picked that up.
Right.
But I didn't know that my dad was a spy or anything.
But did you ask why? Did you say to your dad why?
No, you don't ask. No.
Okay.
No,
you just kind of rolled with
later,
it.
when I'm older, because you start thinking in a different way.
At what age did you ask him?
Well, I was 24.
So you didn't. So all through your teenage years, when you were so much different to every other teenager, you didn't ask any different.
I didn't say things like, "Hi, Dad, are you a spy?"
No, but I mean, did you say, "Why am I being driven in an armored? Why am I different to the other boys?"
Well.
I mean, in a nice way.
When drama, I was. So you become sort of spoiled.
Yes.
And you think that you're quite special.
Yes.
Because so for example, my English teacher at the Anglo-Colombian school used to say to me, "Philip, have you done your homework?" And I'd say, "No, miss." And any other kid in that class would have been sent to the headmaster, but she couldn't do anything because just outside the door was an armed bodyguard.
Okay.
So nobody messed with me, and I learned that I could get away with that. This is not a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I learned that I could get away with anything. And I did, When we went to clubs or whatever, he's this little 5-year-old doing this and ordering ice creams and jelly and what have you, and I still don't know who paid for that stuff.
Okay.
So there was a different life.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I didn't ask the question.
You just grew into it naturally.
But when the Bond movies started becoming something of interest to me, as I'm getting a little bit older.
Was this the movies or the books?
No, I didn't read Bond books. It was the movies.
Yep.
Dr. No and Moonraker and this. So when these films started coming out and we're a bit older, I did used to say to my dad, "You're a spy, aren't you?"
Yeah.
Like a joke, and he didn't say anything. It wasn't until later.
So what was it at 24 that instigated you to take that questioning to a level where he
So
gave
my
you
real
answers?
father, Don Pablo Escobar Gavira, was in trouble. He had taken on the Colombian government, gone too far, got into his head that he was, he'd become a megalomaniac really, and got into his head he could be like his pal in Panama. He could take over the country, and and he started assassinating presidential candidates and all sorts of people like that. So they took him on. Eventually, he had to go to a self-contained prison, which didn't go well, but that's where they sent him. And this was 1989, and any members of his family, regardless of who they were now in trouble, because beforehand we had this kind of weird sort of security where no one messed with people from that type of family. But of course, then later it was an issue. So my adopted father called me up to Madrid, and we had started having chats, which led to this.
Right, okay.
But the chats became. I was only up there for 2 days in Madrid talking to him.
Yeah.
When I got back down to Sotogrande on the southern coast of Spain, I had bodyguards waiting for me.
Okay.
That I'd set up for me. And I had a Special Forces paramilitary personal bodyguard, and he followed me everywhere I went, which was rather good when I went with my friends to Marbella, and we used to sort of go into Sinatra's bar in Banús. And,
still there now.
Yeah, and they used to clear the place out first,
Yeah.
just to make sure it was all cool.
Yeah.
And very funny, very funny. So.
But
There was serious.
yeah, no. But when you quizzed him about his role in MI6, what did he tell
Well,
you?
I didn't have to quiz him too much because about that.
Yeah.
We were talking more about my personal safety and who my real father was and all this stuff. Don't forget there was no internet.
Yeah.
So I couldn't just suddenly go on Google and find out who Don Pablo Escobar was.
Yeah.
He told me he's the guy from Medellin that we used to go and see, remember, and all this. Oh, okay. Then he explained to me stuff about whether, how dangerous the situation was. And then I had personal security just like that.
Okay.
And he gave me some paperwork, which is my adoption certificates and my birth certificates from Spain, from Colombia, and I looked into all that and made sure that was all legal and stuff. And sure enough, it was. And I thought, okay, that's cool. But I don't have anything to do with these people. I just had this totally different life. But he was an MI6 spy. But so
Did you actually find out what he did for MI6, or was it a question that you didn't ask?
No. I asked him stuff, and of course, his first mission as an MI6 recruit. But these people don't work. They don't got their P6. They haven't got their P60, whatever it is.
Well, this is what I'm asking you.
No, they work through handlers.
Right.
And I met his handlers at his funeral. Funny enough, these two guys in alpaca mats. They looked like bloody Al Capone.
Yeah.
Came up to me at his funeral and had a chat with me. And the subject of that conversation and what happened next is in the second book.
Okay.
But so his first mission was a 25-year mission.
Okay. And what was it? Can you tell us what that first mission was?
His first mission was to go down to, it's in the book, for second chapter in the book, to go down to this place called Bogota, which of course this guy's from London, isn't it? Go down to this place, Bogota. You're going to go undercover as a managing director for a security company called De La Rue. Just like in the Bond movies, he received his instructions in Regent Street in an office, just like M's office. And he gets sent to Bogota. This is before.
And that was in Regent Street.
What?
Well, just reading between the lines, as you've told us that there's an MI6 base in Regent Street.
No, there was. It's closed now. We went back for the.
So there was, yeah.
Well, Sir Arthur Norman's office, who was chairman of De La Rue, the private security company that was around today. His office was in Regent Street.
Okay.
And that office was where Ian Fleming took his idea from.
Oh, okay.
Where Bond comes in and throws his hat. And the real money penny was actually Lady Anne Boleyn, and the real M was, Sir Arthur Norman in this instance.
Yes.
Dad used to go in there and get his instructions, and Arthur Norman and Ian Fleming go back, way back. And so anyway, so he gets his instructions. He's sent to Bogota to find out what it is the Colombians want. And it turns out what they want is to try and get control of their monetary systems. And the only way to do that is to print money. But they don't have the expertise to print money. So they get De La Rue in. Perfect opportunity. You send Pat Whitcomb down, and he then infiltrates the current situation. But the problem goes a bit wrong, like it does in most of these countries. They created a tyrant who they then had to kill. The same with Saddam Hussein and all the other ones. That becomes a problem when they get too big for their boots. But, that's effectively how the British government and the American government, they had operatives down there. So Pat Whitcomb was the MI6 operative, and a member of the Panamanian security forces called Manuel Noriega was working for the CIA at the time.
So was your father representing MI6, or was he a spy and they thought he was working for them and they didn't know he was MI6?
Well, you don't go in and say, hi, I work for MI6.
Of course, yeah.
He's there as the managing director of Tomás de la Rue Transportadora de Valores.
But did they know, or...?
Who's they?
Everybody over in...
They don't know he's in Colombia.
Right.
They don't know he's an MI6 spy.
Right, okay.
Like when James Bond goes to deal with, they don't know he's James. It's the same thing. He's got a cover story.
Exactly.
These things are called K-notice operations.
Right.
And they have plausible deniability. So if you get caught, you're just managing director of BP or something. You're just working there. But actually, you're doing other stuff.
Right, okay.
Mostly information gathering, but his job was basically to infiltrate the cartels.
Okay.
And if there weren't any cartels, to make one and then infiltrate it. What the Americans wanted was to find out where all their dollars were going.
Right,
They're
okay.
just falling out of the country and not coming back. It's a problem.
Okay.
And print more dollars, can you? Because
Well,
the
we're
currency goes down.
going to get onto the money because obviously there's all the rumours flying around the money. Yeah. So you were given details of where the money is.
Oh, that's a big jump. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a massive jump.
Now, when obviously details of where the money is, but that money could be from anywhere. It could be from the cartels. But I'm also wondering, could he have given you details to where MI6's slush fund is?
No, so I'll tell you what the details he gave me.
Okay.
There's lots of speculation about Don Pablo Escobar's millions and all the rest.
And there is about the MI6 as well. That's why I'm interested to see your take on it.
MI6 does have a slush fund and so on. Right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff out there. The CIA have massive slush funds, enough to take over countries. You know.
Yes.
These people have massive amounts of money. They have to have money because money's the only thing that get people to do things.
Exactly.
If you want someone in a local country to do something, you've got to splash the dollars at them and they go off and do it.
Yeah.
Fine. So money is important in the spy world because you've got to be able to pay people to do things. Nobody doesn't even money. How much you want? 200. Here you go. Bang. Go and kill that person. You know, people won't do it. But Don Pablo learned that very quickly.
Yeah.
He could get someone from a shanty town in the back streets of Medellin, give them 200 pesos, and they go off and shoot someone for you.
Yeah.
And money makes people do things.
For sure.
So the money is the key. But the key here that we're getting at is, what is this money? So the whole world has been looking for the missing millions, right?
Yep.
Right. But what they haven't what they haven't, and I've kept this secret for a long time. What they've all been looking for the wrong money, right? So the thugs. You make this thing called a cartel. Actually, it's just a group of thugs that got together, and they're robbers and muggers and kidnappers, and these lads that just got together and decided that drug dealing is a better way of making money, and they just bully their way through life until they get caught or shot. And that's what's happened. But it's called a cartel, and that's fine. But what's happened is that Don Pablo was taking money out of the cartels without them knowing as well. So he's robbing his own cartels. Hiding money away for his future, and he's using the only people in the country that can turn these millions and millions of dollars, which you can't pay people with in Colombia. You need pesos. He's having that converted into pesos and other things to pay people. And you need someone in a professional capacity to help you do that. And this is where Pat comes in. There's expertise in how to change money and how to deal with money and so on, with the banking systems and all. So he could never have formed the enormous business that he made for himself, Don Pablo, without the help of the MI6 agent. And the MI6 agent, Pat Whitcomb, over many years told me the story of how they did it. And that's what's in the book. But the missing millions is not what the world has been looking for. That's just thugs who see the police coming down the road and bury a box in the garden and then run and go, it's nothing to do with me, guys. Yeah. Right? That's not the missing millions. That's cartel money that they found it all.
Okay.
They found it in barrels in the gardens here. They found some in walls over there. But the majority of the money, that's just leftover rubbish.
Yeah.
The majority of the money was in the Panamanian central bank, in big pallets, by piles of it.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars that Manuel Noriega had been tucking away for Don Pablo, using my adopted father's security business to transport the money. And that's how they found the money. And then they sent the Americans in the invasion of Panama, got their money back, took Noriega back to bang, end of story.
Yeah.
But what nobody in the world knows until you read the book.
Yeah.
Not what people don't know is that to infiltrate and to create an era of trust around the relationship between Don Pablo and this guy who was managing director of De La Rue in Colombia. He didn't know he was an MI6 spy. To get this trust, working relationship, my adopted father had to help Don Pablo tuck money away.
Yeah.
And they did, and he tucked it away. And I was on some of the trips in the old DC-4 where they came out Florida with the money, because I just thought it was a holiday for us.
Okay.
So I took photos. Some of the photos in my book.
Okay. So the money
the real missing millions is private money that Don Pablo had Pat Whitcomb tuck away for him, and it got taken out of the country. And the last time I saw some of that money was in Madrid.
Okay. So that was
that goes back to your original question, which is 1989.
Right, and that was definitely like the cartel's money and not MI6's.
No, that is money. Yeah, that is money. Yeah. I'll just be clear with you. The missing millions is money that Dad, Pat Whitcomb, was stashing away for Don Pablo, unbeknown to everybody else, right? And converting it into different things, but also stashing it away, and he got a lot of it. Well, he got it all out of the country. The bit that I saw was what was left was about $210 million in sacks in a basement in Madrid. But even when he showed me that, he'd already converted a lot of it.
Yeah.
And of course, after the conversations that we had, right, I've been able to research and gather a lot of information. It gives me some pretty good ideas as to what's happened to the money. But it's a lot of money. It's not $210 million. That's all I saw.
So you've been investigating where it is?
For 25 years.
So do you have an idea or any ideas where the money is? Simple yes or no. I'm not going to ask you where.
Yeah, so obviously I'm not going to tell you.
No.
And obviously...
Because otherwise we'd end this interview and I'd be off.
Yeah. Like well, what's quite likely also is I probably wouldn't be here if I knew where the money was, because I'd be sat on a 200-foot yacht over somewhere in the Caribbean waving at Richard Branson.
So that's a no, you don't know where the money is.
So the question is not an easy answer to answer, because I will say...
You can say I want to refrain from answering.
No, I won't say that either, because I've got to be honest. I've got some really, really, really good ideas about where I think some of this money is. But also...
And is that in the book?
No. So I also... What's in the book is the code that Dad gave me.
Right.
And that is in the book. If you can crack the code, you find the millions. It's not that complicated.
Right.
But cracking the code is bloody difficult. And what
is the code? Is it like a longitude, latitude, or is it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot more. There's a lot to it. There are 5 lines of code, and they're all in the book.
Right. Okay.
And perhaps in our interview we can talk about that.
Sure.
I have done my own personal research, and it's not just about researching like we all do online. We go on Google. It's not that. I've been looking at my dad's life and what he's been doing and where, and the things he said to me, and I've been able to connect stuff, like those trips in the DC-4.
Yes.
And I've been thinking, wait a minute.
Where did he go and why?
Where did we go there? Why did we go there? Why is it we went to this bank when we were supposed to be playing golf and we didn't tell Mum, and we went to this bank, opened a bank account, and he put a load of money in? What's going on there? Where were we at that time? Oh, we were in this country. Oh, yeah. So.
And was that when you were with your father,
yes,
or when you was with Pablo, or both?
No, when I was with my adopted father. So I'm able to piece together memories and stuff, and then you do research, and then you start thinking, oh yeah. And then, at one moment, about, I don't know, let's say. Guessing now, around about 5 years after he started, I don't know. Let's just say round about 1990. At that time, he gave me a little bag like this, and it was a velvet bag.
Okay.
This is my adopted father, and it was about big enough to cup in your hand like that. It was a little velvet bag, like some little old lady would keep her buttons in or something. Yeah. And I opened it and went like that, and it was full of uncut emerald stones.
Okay.
Big ones like that. And I said to him, well, how do what's that? And he said, well, some of the stuff that came out of Colombia didn't just come out in cash. So I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. So when you're looking for the missing millions, I'll tell you that story so that you can see that it's not
Just cash.
It's not all cash.
It could be commodities as well.
And it will likely be.
Yeah.
So
is there any here in Mallorca?
It'll be likely to be bullion. I mean, of course, I don't know where the money is. So it's likely to be...
Well, there's a definitive no to Mallorca.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
So I would say that it's more likely to be uncut emerald stones, gold bullion, and some cash.
Okay. Was that northern Spain or southern Spain, did you say?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
But I will know, the last time I saw some of the cash was in Madrid. That was 1989. I never saw it again.
Okay.
And I know that he moved it, and I think I know where he moved it to.
Okay.
Which I ain't telling no one.
And do you know where any of the commodities are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not all of it.
Are any of them here in Mallorca?
No.
Okay.
Because if I tried to bring some of those in, I'd get nicked in it.
Let's leave it there then.
Yeah.
Lovely. Good luck with the book.
Thank you. I've had a very exciting life, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And
I look forward to having you back on the second book.
Can I just say, it's been amazing being in this magazine.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And to be on the front cover, I consider to be a privilege.
Thank you very much. I'll share it with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, with me now is the internationally renowned Judge Jules. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come and join us. Now, I know that you've just been in London, you've just was in Ibiza, and now you're here in Mallorca, which is a feat in its own given the current environment we're in. So first I'm going to ask you, what was it like to travel London to Ibiza and then here to Mallorca, given the...
I've done it 6 times in the last 2 weeks.
You have?
So I'm definitely the person to ask.
Right, okay.
There's some of the privileges, dare I say, that you get as a frequent flyer have been forsaken by the airlines in the name of social distancing. So you can't be a priority boarder, for example, on EasyJet, or if you've got a BA frequent flyer, you can't board first. The theory being that they want to board the plane by seat row number. I'm not necessarily sure that I agree with the logic of any of that, because it just needs to be done sensibly. But anyway, that's one of the things. Everybody's wearing masks on the plane and in the airport, of course, which seems pretty obvious, spoken about from the perspective of the Baleares, where we've got this let's wear masks everywhere rule, which is a bit questionable, but that's another story. But in the UK, it's not mandatory to wear masks inside buildings with the exception of shops. That comes in imminently, but it is under the rules of each airport, you do have to wear a mask. So that seems a bit stranger if you're British than it would if you were based over here, where you're more used to it.
Yeah.
As far as the airlines are concerned, there's a bit more limited food and beverages, but it's not too dissimilar an experience. I mean, I think that you're facing forwards, you're masked up. You are given on British Airways some hand sanitizer, on other airlines not. I'm certainly not travelling in fear. I think people need to be cautious about coronavirus. I'd be silly to say otherwise, but I think the degree of fear that has been generated by certainly the UK government and apparently by the Spanish government as well is probably almost taking it to an extreme, just to make those people who would otherwise not pay any attention whatsoever pay some attention. But actually, it's forced certain people to be really fearful of flying, and I'm not one of those people. I've looked into the facts a little bit deeper where COVID-19 is concerned, rather than simply absorbing what the media tells me I should believe.
Yes. I'm not going to document your DJ past because that's well documented. So what I want to talk about is your current DJ status. Now, obviously, you've had, I would imagine, I'm assuming, which I shouldn't do, that you've had a lot of your DJ bookings for this year changed and moved. Can you tell us a little bit like that? And also, if there's any bookings that haven't been moved, or any countries that are still going with it?
Well, the majority of my gigs are UK holiday plus sort of Mediterranean holiday resorts, and then I'll go to the likes of Dubai, the US and Australia. But I do, as opposed to sort of 10 or 15 years ago where I did a portfolio of countries around the world constantly in an almost non-stop tour. Now, because it's more UK based, there aren't many other countries that I could be going to because their doors are open. I mean, anecdotally, I've been told that 1 or 2 things in Croatia and 1 or 2 things in Serbia are happening, but I speak to lots of other DJs, and in my legal practice I represent a lot of other people, and I don't think many people are working, even those whose whose kind of diary is filled every week with a different country.
Yeah.
Yes, this was due to be my busiest year of DJing in at least a decade. Last year I did 100 gigs. This year was due to be probably at least 10 or 15% more than that. I've lost most of them, haven't DJed since mid-March. I do have certain things coming up which theoretically are going to happen. I've got some car raves, I've got some socially distanced festivals, doing a couple of private events, so it's not like I'm completely out of the picture, but it's been culturally for me, as somebody who is very used to going out every Saturday night and, dare I say it, quite uncomfortable with watching Strictly Come Dancing or whatever normal people do on a Saturday night. Financially, of course, very damaging. I guess the only caveat to that is that I've been live streaming DJ sets every Saturday night from the beginning of April onwards. They've got amazing stats. I've probably had about at least 3 million views of my live streams, if not a bit more than that now. So I've been very pleased about that.
How have you got around the copyright to do like a Facebook Live?
Well, Facebook Live, basically I do it on Facebook Live, Twitch and YouTube. YouTube is fine. Twitch is just about fine. Facebook, occasionally one gets taken down, you put yourself straight back up.
Right, okay.
Is what one does. Facebook launched Facebook Live in a blaze of flashing glory, but didn't necessarily clear the rights for doing this sort of stuff as well as other digital portals did. But so it's not been a money maker for me, but it's been a sort of keep yourself out there in the public eye. It's been a branding exercise, and it's been very successful.
When you're not doing the DJing, for some people it's a rumour. Oh, I've heard he's doing this. For some people, actually do know do it. You are actually still practicing law, which is where obviously the DJ name originally came from. But do you have your own law practice, or are you working with a law practice at the moment?
I work in a law practice, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's actually not correct that I've always been a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for I got a law degree when I was 21. I didn't immediately become a lawyer.
Right,
I decided to do this about 12 years ago, qualified nearer to 10 years ago, and have been practicing not only in the dance music fraternity, but obviously a substantial proportion of the people I represent are dance music artists, plus urban and pop. That's kind of the genre that I'm in.
Okay.
I think for the house fraternity, I mean, I'm probably now the busiest lawyer in the world, specialising really in dance music. I've got a huge practice, and I clearly with my commercial background, having not just been a DJ, but having been on Radio 1, having set up labels, been an artist, kind of done all the stuff that I'm now, from a practical perspective, that I'm now advising about from a legal perspective. So it sort of puts me in a market of one, really, i.e. an active artist and somebody who is a lawyer at the same time. It should be stressed, I'm a music lawyer, music and entertainment lawyer. Whilst in theory I could handle other stuff, it's not what I do. Don't ask me to buy or sell your house or defend you if you get banged up in the middle of the night.
Yes, but what about if you're a DJ or a musician? Then they still need to call somebody else in the firm. So what sort of things do you take care of? Like, what is the, for say young budding artists or DJs that are producing records that maybe are being approached by a record company as we speak? What are the do's and don'ts, or things that you would say watch out for, maybe?
Well, it's difficult. Most people who have been making tracks in their bedroom, which whether you're in a band or you're making electronic music is ultimately where you're likely to have started, see getting a record deal as an achievement in its own right. But actually, I think it's important to realise that's the first in a number of stepping stones that one needs to take. And because they sometimes quite unrealistically consider that to be a very significant achievement, they just sign anything that gets put in front of them. So my job is to negotiate the deal terms, and then to kind of redraft and shape contracts back into a position where the artist is far less prejudiced by signing these agreements. And the music business there are some great people in it. I've been in it all my life, over 30 years, but there are plenty of contracts out there that will really catch the unawares in a very negative manner, and my job is to stop that happening. So for me, not only do I understand the legal side of it, and I represent some labels, so I can also draft these things as opposed to simply amending other record labels' contracts, but having experienced the pitfalls firsthand, and having experienced some of the negative characters in the music business, I'm very well qualified to if you like, step in and steer the deal in the right direction very fast.
Is there one particular label that you would perhaps steer artists away from?
there are a few, but I don't think I would necessarily mention them now. I would mention them privately to other lawyers, or I might mention them to my clients. I think it would be risky for me to start sort of naming and shaming at this point, but there are a few that whose contracts I don't just find professionally unappealing. I'm almost quite disgusted by some of the contracts I see. Because
on the other side of the scale, though, are there some record companies that you would name that you would say are particularly great? So, like, if you get approached by these guys, they're the kind of great guys to be approached by.
I think it's not just in the contract. It's also in the people who work for the labels. You know.
Yeah.
Because you need to, if you're signed to a bigger label, you need to have buy-in within the building, as we say. So if you're in a label it's a fully staffed record label, it's got a marketing department, it's got an A&R team, it's got a business affairs team, it's got a video team. You need, as an artist, to have pretty much all of those people buying into what you do, because if they do, then you're going to get supported internally within that record company so much better than simply being some random artist who might have had some money paid for their services and might be making music but hasn't necessarily got a sense of belonging amongst the people within the record label.
Do you think that that's a good step and a necessary step, or do you think that there should still be a divide between producer and DJ?
Well, you're right. I started prior to producing records, but then subsequently have probably released about 200 records. But I think I have needed to do that. The reality is, it's your calling card, especially in the COVID era where people aren't able to go out and tout their services live. You need something to demonstrate your wares to the rest of the world.
Yes.
Now, of course, in the Spotify era, I mean, depending on who you believe, there's anywhere between 10,000 and 100,000 new releases per week. So it's a daunting task trying to make your music stand out in a crowd. And you can't simply put it up there, release it and think that's good enough, because it'll just get lost. It will be tomorrow's, today's news, tomorrow's chip paper, if you like.
Yeah.
So you need to be with either a label who is very capable of marketing what you do and getting tastemakers, be it radio, be it Spotify playlists, be it kind of journalists, to pay attention. Or if you're good at doing that yourself, and certain artists are, creating a kind of DIY bubble around yourself, then that's equally good. And in fact, if you are capable of doing it yourself, that puts you at a particular advantage. Because you know exactly what's being done on your behalf. You're not relying on other people's promises. But one way or the other, there is an awful lot of spade work to do, and actually an awful lot of grind and an awful lot of repeatedly releasing good records. You'd be very lucky if you put your first record out and you were an overnight sensation. In fact, that would probably be a negative thing, because you wouldn't have enough time to build a fan base. More commonplace, both in electronic music and pop and rock and all spheres of music, is that slow burn. You slowly build layers of fan base. You start in your local area, in your local social circle. You then maybe grow to a broader geographical base. You keep going, maybe you release records, suddenly you get pockets of fan base in other parts of the world. And that kind of growth trajectory is the typical story of most music artists. So it won't happen overnight, but you've got to and you've got to be realistic about it and set your expectations accordingly, and try and but as long as you are continuing on that growth trajectory over a period of months and years, and you can see where you're going, you can see what your sort of objectives are on a biannual / annual basis, and hopefully you will fulfill them. There's an element of luck inevitably in any kind of creative industry, then hopefully you will succeed.
Do you think that the market is still there to be able to become a DJ without producing a record?
I think it's very difficult to succeed as a DJ without producing records. I mean, there might be one or two exclusions. I think even radio, dare I say it. I mean, I was lucky in that I came from multiple routes into my career. One was raves, so I was very, very big in the acid house rave era and the sort of early 90s super club era. 2 was radio and Radio 1. And 3 was making music. I mean, I suppose, and 4 was Ibiza, in the absolute heyday of Ibiza. It's not.
Yeah, so I understand what you mean. Yeah,
particularly strong period of Ibiza. So for me, there were different strands to my career, of which music making was one. I think arguably, if you were a radio presenter on a very successful station, maybe you could do it without making music. But I don't think it's easy. I think that's how you are almost judged on the quality of your music productions over and above the quality of your DJ sets.
And do you agree with that? Do you think that's a good thing, or?
I'm on the shelf. It is what it is. I'm not going to change it, so there's no point really getting too het up about it.
You've mentioned that the one thing during this COVID time as well is that instead of going out DJing, you've called things like Strictly. So I am going to say, have you found in this time that you found yourself a bit of a guilty pleasure?
I haven't been watching Strictly at this point. I never would. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, it hasn't even been on. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm not. I've watched a few more Netflix things.
Okay,
yeah.
And do you have like a one that's particularly stood out for you?
Yeah.
Even a movie, perhaps.
I haven't really watched. No, I've watched some box sets which I haven't. I'm probably a bit behind the curve on Netflix box sets before now. No,
Okay.
Fauda, F-A-U-D-A, which is an Israeli drama about the Secret Service. The best thing I've watched
That's the
by
one.
far. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you for coming in today. Thank you very much. And that's it from Judge Jules, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's about it for this episode, but not quite. Don't forget, subscribe below. Here is the link. You can see it all below me. Make sure you subscribe and follow. I would love to tell you about the next episode, but you're going to have to subscribe to find out why. Taking us out, what a treat for you. It's a man with beautiful talent. I'm going to let his music speak for him. All I'm going to simply say is we'll see you next time. And taking us out is the wonderful sound of Mr. Larrick Ebanks. I'll see you next time.
Deeper, I'm falling and falling, sweeter and sweeter into this love. Deeper and deeper, I'm falling and falling, sweeter and sweeter. Your love is calling. Wanna talk to you tonight. Tell you things that are on my mind. I'm so full of energy, and it's all because of you. You see, your smile is exciting, your eyes are inviting. You're my kind of recipe, and it's good enough for me, baby. Wanting you, ooh, baby, baby. You. Ain't that just the way? I would like to say, baby, let's go deeper and deeper. I'm falling and falling, sweeter and sweeter into this love. Let's go deeper and deeper. I'm falling and falling, sweeter and sweeter. Your love is calling. Wanna love you under moonlight. Tell you everything's alright. You know where I'm coming from. Loving you can't be wrong. Oh, you know you excite me. The way you ignite me. Your love is a remedy. It's good enough for me, baby. Deeper and deeper. Let's go deep. Falling, into this love. Let's go deep. Go deep now, cause it tastes sweet. Wanna love you, yeah, baby. Let's go deep. Oh baby, let's go deep. Falling, sweeter, all the way into this love. Falling down with you. Sweeter, your love is calling. It's a deeper love I have inside.